Poor woman forced to marry a coma man, until one kiss woke his soul. Kiss mark sparkles.
The rain lashed against the hospital window, painting the world in blurry, indistinct strokes. It was a perfect reflection of Amara's life. At just 23, she possessed a quiet, soulful beauty, her dark skin glowing like midnight silk and her eyes holding stories she never had the chance to tell. But life hadn't been kind. She spent her days and nights scrubbing hospital floors, her hands raw, her dreams buried under layers of fatigue and duty. Then one morning, everything changed. The hospital director summoned her, his voice as sharp as his cold expression. "Amara, Mr. Raymond's family has made an unusual request. They need someone to legally marry him. It's a symbolic act, just to protect his inheritance while he's in a coma. You'll be compensated very well if you agree." Amara's heart hammered against her ribs. Marry a man who can't even wake up. The director nodded, impatient. "It's just paperwork, a business transaction. No one gets hurt." But Amara did get hurt, in ways no one could possibly see. That afternoon, she found herself standing beside a hospital bed, wearing a simple white dress she'd borrowed. The man in the bed, Raymond Carter, was a wealthy businessman, now lying perfectly still, surrounded by the soft, rhythmic beeping of machines. Even in his stillness, he was breathtaking. He had a strong jaw, a peaceful face, and hands that looked like they had once held the world with confidence. When the priest hired for the strange ceremony said, "You may kiss the groom," Amara froze. Her lips trembled. This wasn't a love story. It was a contract born of desperation. This was for survival. She leaned in, her heart aching with a confusion she couldn't name, and brushed her lips against his cool cheek. She whispered, so low that only he might hear, "If you can hear me, I didn't choose this, but I promise, I'll take care of you." And she did. Amara became his shadow, his constant companion. She fed him through his tube, read him stories from tattered novels, and sang old church hymns when the ward was quiet and she thought no one was listening. The nurses would sometimes whisper and laugh amongst themselves, look at her, playing wife to a ghost, but Amara didn't care. A strange, unshakable feeling deep inside told her he wasn't entirely gone. Sometimes when her fingers brushed against his, she imagined she felt a flicker of warmth, a tiny spark, faint but real. In those quiet, lonely hours, she started talking to him, pouring out her heart to the silent man in the bed. "Raymond, you know what's funny?" she'd say, a tear tracing a path down her cheek. "I used to dream of finding a man who would just listen to my stories. Now here you are, and you can't even talk back." She'd laugh, a hollow sound that was more sorrow than joy. One night, a violent storm raged outside, and the hospital's power suddenly went out. The machines around Raymond's bed flickered, and then their life-sustaining hum was replaced by a series of shrill, terrifying alarms. Panic seized Amara. She rushed to his side, her voice trembling. "Please, Raymond, don't leave me too. You're all I have now." She grabbed his hand, her tears falling freely onto his skin. Without thinking, driven by a raw, desperate emotion she hadn't known she possessed, she leaned forward and kissed him. This time, it wasn't a duty. It wasn't a performance. It was love. Real, undeniable, and desperate love. And then, something happened. His finger twitched against hers. Her heart stopped. The backup power kicked in, and the machines steadied their rhythm. "Raymond," she whispered, her voice shaking with disbelief. A breath weak, raspy, but undeniably there escaped his lips. "Amara," she gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. His eyes, soft brown, filled with a cloudy confusion, and a dawning wonder slowly fluttered open. He looked at her, truly looked at her, for the very first time. "I heard you," he said, his voice faint but clear. "I heard every story, every prayer, every song." The months that followed were a slow journey of recovery. Raymond's memories returned in fragments, pieces of a puzzle he struggled to put back together. But there was one thing he never forgot, one constant that anchored him through the confusion: her voice. The voice of the woman who stayed by his side when everyone else had given up hope. He found her one evening, sitting in the hospital garden as the setting sun cast a golden halo around her hair. He knelt beside her, his movements still a little unsteady, and gently took her hand in his. He whispered, his eyes full of a love that was both brand new and ages old, "I don't remember falling into a coma, but I remember falling in love with you the moment I woke up." Amara laughed softly, tears of joy glistening in her eyes. "You're awake now, Raymond. So, what are you going to do?" He smiled, a real, vibrant smile that lit up his face and made her world feel whole again. "I'm going to marry you," he said. For real this time. A year later, under a brilliant African sunset, Amara walked down the aisle once more. But this time, she wasn't a poor cleaner forced by circumstance. She was a beloved bride, her heart overflowing with a peace she had never known. And when Raymond lifted her veil and kissed her, the whole world seemed to hold its breath. Because sometimes, one kiss doesn't just wake a man from a coma, it awakens a destiny. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content that celebrates the incredible power of love. We'll see you in the next video.